6 a.m. as semi crashed along the 805 overnight, creating a big mess and impacting a number of lanes.
News 8's Evan Ronnie is live near the southbound lanes of the 8 there with the latest. What's the update here, Evan?
So actually a very big update. They've been able to clear those remaining lanes. They are back open to the public now on the 805 southbound, but we are encountering just a bit of backups on the 805 northbound. We earlier were seeing quite a bit of kind of stop and go traffic as you were making your way past that jackknife semi that was on the southbound lanes, and now it looks like that 805 northbound traffic is just continuing with their backups. If you look at the southbound lanes where you got those white headlights there, you see that not just the number 1 lane, but now all the remaining lanes are back open to the public. Earlier on, we saw that jackknife semi that had been essentially broken into pieces that they loaded onto remaining tow trucks to be able to pull from the scene. So they basically separated that into pieces. It was closed, only open to the number 1 lane for about 4 or 5 hours there, from about 1 a.m. all the way through about a half hour ago or so. So it was a big priority, of course, since we've now jumped into the 6 o'clock hour, that we were able to open up those lanes. So I think it was a big priority of theirs to be able to clear those lanes, to be able to allow some of that through traffic back out, as about a half hour ago, we were seeing some pretty tough delays with just that number 1 lane open. So the good update, the positive update here, is that all the remaining lanes on the southbound 805 at the 8 on-ramp and off-ramp are back open, and there is still a bit of traffic and backups on the 805 northbound, but it looks like those are starting to speed up in terms of your speed on the roadways here. Hopefully we shouldn't see too much remaining rubbernecking or anything on the roads here this morning. I'll send things back to you.
Yes, I'll take it from there. You know, you just heard Evan mention that all your lanes are back open, which means things are fairly calm in that area. So I'm going to zoom in where that crash was again, south on the 805. Right near the 8, Murray Ridge. The lanes are back open. You saw a little bit of traffic there both directions, but overall it is starting to move. Northbound side just seeing a little bit of more of a backup than that southbound commute at the moment. But again, everything should start to go back to normal at 6:03, and then it'll pick up anyway because your traffic picks up at about 7 o'clock. I want to mention this new crash here north on the 5 at Hawthorne Street. That 3rd lane is blocked with a crash. It just happened a few moments ago, so we do have crews off to the side there. I see a little bit of a delay starting to back up. Currently, no word on anyone being hurt in that particular crash. North on the 5, right at that exit to the 15, it looks like we've got a stalled out car. It is off to the right-hand shoulder. Travel times to the South County are okay. The Coronado Bridge itself, right at the tail end, you do have a little bit of a backup where you're down to about 7 miles an hour. That was that area where that 805 crash was. One final thing that I do want to mention to you is in the San Marcos area, east on the 78 at the exit to Barham. We had an earlier crash, so crews are still doing cleanup work. They're blocking the slow lane in the right-hand shoulder. Neda.
Jenny, thank you very much. And this morning you're waking up to a few clouds out there. Partly cloudy skies to start. It's going to be a little chilly today. I will say 5 to 10 degrees below average, staying in the upper 60s for our afternoon highs. So if you're getting ready right now, just have a jacket with you. Surf is up. If you live by the beach, you are hearing the sound of those waves. 10-footers today. Really, our wave heights are peaking. Temperatures will be warming. In fact, we're going to get to the near 90s. I'll explain why that's going to be happening coming up. Stella and Eric.
Well, today marks a big meeting over COVID vaccines for younger kids. An FDA advisory panel is discussing whether to recommend the Pfizer vaccine for children ages 5 to 11.
That panel includes a local doctor. News 8's Chris Groh is live outside Rady Children's Hospital with what we can expect today. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, and if this is fully approved here for emergency use authorization, we're talking about millions of kids ages between the 5 years old and 11 years old that will now be eligible for the Pfizer vaccine, because that is the vaccine that we're currently talking about right now, one that is already fully approved beyond emergency use authorization for those 16 and older. But if this emergency use authorization is given, that means roughly 28 million children will fall into that eligibility pocket. Now, as for the timing, well, the advisory board, again, meeting today, likely going to take several hours. There's not only evidence and facts that is presented, but also public comment. If they give approval, though, it then goes on to the CDC, who then goes into how to implement this emergency use authorization. They then, if they choose to, could sign off on it, which then they meet next week. So that means that we could see the middle of November when we could potentially be seeing shots going into arms if that is something that happens. Now, Dr. Mark Sawyer is an infectious disease expert at Rady Children's Hospital, but he also sits on this advisory panel, and he says that one way that we could be progressing again in this pandemic is by not only getting more kids vaccinated, but also those adults that remain unvaccinated.
And I think we largely will by getting as many people immunized as we can. I'm not sure we'll ever completely eliminate the transmission the way we have with things like measles because of herd immunity. And that has to do with the way these vaccines work and how contagious this particular virus is. But I think we can largely control the pandemic by adding kids and the rest of the adults who haven't been immunized. If we could get everybody immunized, then I think we'd be in good shape.
And for more information on this advisory panel and their meeting, just continue to stay with News 8 today as we wait for those developments. And then if you want to learn more about the vaccine, just go to CBS8.com and click on that help button. Eric and Stella.
Chris, thank you. Yeah, we'll be watching this one closely. And this morning, San Diego Unified is being sued by a 16-year-old student at Scripps Ranch High School over its COVID vaccine mandate. The student's attorney says students should have the option for a religious exemption, just like the district staff do. We reached out to the district, but they do not comment on pending lawsuits. Eligible students over 16 need to have their first vaccine by November 29th and fully vaccinated by December 20th. If not, they'll have to enroll in independent study programs and will not be allowed to participate in extracurricular activities. Family and friends are dealing with the sudden loss of a 13-year-old boy in North County. Marco attended Madison Middle School in Oceanside. The Vista Unified School District says Marco became sick on campus last Friday and he was rushed to the hospital. His family says an undetected heart condition is to blame for his sudden passing. A celebration of life is being planned for Saturday, and we do have a link to a GoFundMe on CBS8.com. Just click on the help button.
Right now, a high surf advisory is in effect along the coast. The Ocean Beach Pier has been temporarily closed because of the high surf. Today is expected to be the peak of the swell, with waves as high as 15 feet. Lifeguards say inexperienced swimmers and surfers should not be getting in the water. The advisory will continue through 3 a.m. tomorrow. And this morning, electricity has mostly been restored across the county after yesterday's rainstorm. At one point, over 8,000 households were without power. But SDG&E's outage map shows things mostly back to normal now, with about 24 homes still without power. This morning, people in Northern California are cleaning up after the storm caused some severe flooding there. Strong winds also brought down trees and nearly pushed over a semi-truck on a bridge near San Francisco. In Butte County, heavy rain soaked a region within the burn zone of last summer's massive Dixie Fire. Highway 70 was shut down after a landslide covered the road there.
And they got a big cleanup there in the Bay Area, and we got some of that rain yesterday. Measurable rain?
Yeah, we got measurable rain. Also want to talk about the snow that came down with this system. So this is a view, Kings Beach. I know it's still fairly dark, but this is in the Lake Tahoe area. 24 to 30 inches of snow, so over 2 feet for many of these ski resorts. Imagine waking up to this beauty right there. So yeah, some ski resorts likely will be opening very soon. Mammoth is one of those, opening on Friday, and they got a good amount of snowfall as well. So for us, when it got to us, as we expected, it really fizzled out, and it just kind of became, for us, you know, an afternoon spritzer. So here you go. The amount of rain that we saw, anywhere from 2/10 to 3/10 of an inch of rain for most of our coast through inland valleys. Obviously, for the mountains, we got more, just over an inch for Palomar, 3/4 for Julian, almost an inch for Lake Quemaca. So, you know, for us, it does help add to our rain totals. We can certainly use as much moisture as possible, but nowhere near the several inches that they saw of rain in Northern California. Wind gusts were pretty strong. Just as that rain started to pick up here around 4 or 5 o'clock, gusts were pretty high in the 60s for Laguna, Vulcan Mountain. Julian got all the way up to 42. Right now, our winds, I am looking at this right here, and it is starting to get a little more breezy over the past 30 minutes, just noticing it along the ridge tops and the east side of the mountains. So if you are headed to the deserts, just know that it may be a bit breezy, still not as windy as what we saw. Our wind direction, all of that's going to change. We're going to get Santa Ana winds here over the next few days. For now, you're waking up to 56 degrees for downtown San Diego. Our afternoon high, 68 degrees under partly cloudy skies.